Joining me now with her take is Roma Daravi, former White House Deputy Director of Strategic Communications and CEO of Daravi Strategies. Roma, welcome. Great to see you. So are you willing to sacrifice our First Amendment for the sake of pleasing the Europeans?
Look, it's great to be on with you. What we heard from the elite in Davos is shocking, but what we're hearing from Americans that are there agreeing with them is egregious. Unfortunately, we've been watching it happen firsthand over the last 2.5 years as these Americans are okay with disinformation being shared on Twitter, and they have absolutely no problem with it. And then you have Elon Musk, who is finally releasing these censorship documents that prove that Americans are being censored by the companies that are over there in Davos at the World Economic Forum. So, of course, they're going to think that it's okay. Of course, they're going to agree. Unfortunately, we've been watching this play out firsthand, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. Notably, Elon Musk was not invited to attend the World Economic Forum, so he might have been the one person to stand up and disagree with them, but unfortunately, he didn't catch an invite.
Well, that's exactly why they didn't invite him, because they knew he would stand up to that. But, you know, I think back to before Elon Musk bought Twitter, and when a couple of the executives from Twitter were at a congressional hearing at which a couple of the more radical Democrat senators were saying, look, you haven't gone far enough. I mean, we didn't know the extent of the censorship. That was before the Twitter files came out. But these congressmen were encouraging them to censor more. You should censor about climate change. You shouldn't just censor about the pandemic stuff. I mean, it's extraordinary how that tendency to just throw the First Amendment under the bus has already spread in the United States.
Sure. Well, it's the elite group think. It's exactly what you mentioned. And unfortunately, you know, we've been watching that over the last 3 years. It's not going to change. So you have to take into account who is sharing that information and why they're doing so. You have the Microsoft CEO over there attending the events, while 2 days ago, back here, 10,000 employees were laid off. So you have to look at why they're doing this, who they're speaking to, who their audience is, and who they care about. It all boils down to money for them. I mean, most of the people that are attending these events that are foreign leaders, they have a reason to be there to talk about what's going on across the world stage. But when you have Americans, former American leaders, former American officials who had little to no monetary value to their name prior to their service and now are worth hundreds of millions of dollars simply because of this elite group think that they've joined into, it really makes you scratch your head and wonder why. It's not for the American people, that's for sure. They're certainly not talking about the $8 eggs that we're dealing with here at home.
Right. Well, I'm sure you were thinking of Al Gore as one of those people, because he is worth hundreds of millions as a result of some of the boards that he's been on and the stock deals that he's made just in time. I just wonder, though, whether among those elites, not in front of the microphones, but when they were in the hallways talking to each other, whether they did discuss, people like John Kerry discuss with the executives of tech companies about maybe you could begin doing something, shadow banning or something, these people who take issue with our climate change policies. Do you think some of that goes on in the wings?
Well, I would do anything to be a little birdie in the corner of that room and really hear what they're actually talking about, because like you said, what goes into the microphone is probably 5% of what's actually being conversed over there. But what we need to really focus on as a nation is how we can get out of this recession. This is the World Economic Forum. They are supposed to be dealing with economic issues. Instead, they're talking about gender studies, they're talking about climate change. They're not focused on how we can make the world a stronger economic place, which, you know, is quite concerning. You have things like the World Economic Forum, which is not in its namesake what it says, just like the Inflation Reduction Act is not what it says it is. So you have to really read through the lies these days.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, most of those lies are coming from Democrats, and they're pointing a finger at the Republicans, but there's three pointing back at them.
Roma, I just, because you were in the communications department of a previous administration, I want to ask about how you think they are handling this docudrama that we have, the document drama, these classified docs at the Biden residence. They keep repeating this line over and over again. Let me just play that for you and get your reaction. Roll tape.
It's pretty extraordinary that we, select group of human beings,
all right,
because
that's not it. It was the one where Jean-Pierre, okay, you got the right tape. Roll it.
He said he takes classified documents and information seriously. He takes classified documents very seriously. He takes classified information and materials seriously. He takes classified documents and information very seriously. He takes this very seriously. He takes this very seriously. The president takes this very seriously. The president takes this very seriously. The president takes very seriously, very seriously, very seriously, very, very seriously.
I take classified documents and classified materials seriously.
Roma, I have to ask you. I mean, a guy who's putting these classified documents in a garage with his Corvette, does that line hold any water with the American public? Quickly.
Well, at least they didn't circle back, right? And circle back and circle back and circle back like they did before that. But, you know, they're not taking this seriously. And just earlier, Joe Biden actually said he has, quote, no regrets when it comes to the mishandling of these classified documents. So I don't know about you. I think the garage is where most of Americans throw their junk beside their car. Nobody really has any idea of what's in those boxes. And the fact that that's where Joe Biden is claiming he stored classified documents that were totally secure, that he had no idea were even there, is really just an eye roll moment for all of us back at home. And the American people see right through it.
No matter how often you repeat it, it's kind of hard to believe. Roma, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Good to see you.